I'm Katie Couric. Tonight, Plan B for Iraq. With political support for the war collapsing, CBS News learns the Bush administration has now started planning with the Pentagon for what happens if the current troop surge fails. Also tonight, who's a rat? Federal prosecutors are furious about this website exposing the deals they've made with thousands of informants who were working undercover against the bad guys. There's a new forecast for an active hurricane season beginning in just 10 days. We'll check up on New Orleans levees to see if they're ready.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric reporting tonight from Philadelphia.
Hello, everyone. We begin tonight with the war in Iraq. What if the troop surge there doesn't work? Pressure is building by the day in Congress and the military for a change of course. Tonight, David Martin has exclusive details about how the White House and Pentagon are now working together on an alternative plan.
The troop surge has not reached full strength, but the Bush administration has already begun work on a Plan B for after the surge. Despite the almost daily car bombings, today's killed 25, commanders in the field report modest progress. But CBS News has been told they have also concluded the Iraqi government will not meet any of the benchmarks for political reconciliation among its warring factions. As Admiral William Fallon, the overall commander for the Middle East, put it, reconciliation isn't likely in the time we have available.
Right now, Plan B is nothing more than ideas about how the U.S. could change course in Iraq. But it's a recognition that both political support and the Army are wearing out.
Defense Secretary Gates hopes to start withdrawing by the end of this year. A complete pullout would take an estimated 10 months, but would probably trigger disaster.
I don't think there's a real option to withdraw completely, because it's quite clear that the Iraqi government wouldn't survive a complete withdrawal.
Daniel Surwer was the executive director of the Iraq Study Group, which just 6 months ago recommended pulling all combat troops out in 2008. But he says that is no longer possible.
You're talking about staying from 5 to 10 more years. You're not talking about staying a few more months.
At current levels.
Maybe with some drawdown, but at close to current levels.
Plan B, as it is known, is not an official document, and commanders in the field believe the surge will have to continue into next year. But that surge is on a collision course with political reality. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
I'm Cheryl Atkinson on Capitol Hill, where Congress and the White House are near a compromise on funding the troop surge at least through September. The deal being worked out tonight would be considered a victory for President Bush because there are no deadlines for troop withdrawals. But that victory may be fleeting. More and more Democrats and Republicans are considering September an unwritten deadline. Republican Senator Susan Collins has been fending off the idea of timetables, but today told CBS News a deadline is drawing closer nonetheless.
You're suggesting in September, if benchmarks aren't met, there may be something other than economic consequences.
That's right. All options need to be on the table, including redefining our mission and planning for a significant but gradual withdrawal next year.
Under a draft funding bill not yet final, Iraq would have to make great strides toward 18 benchmarks.
If progress isn't good enough under the bill being negotiated, billions for Iraq reconstruction could be held back. But the bigger consequence is the one that won't be in the bill, one President Bush can't veto, the possible loss of his final political support for keeping the troops in Iraq. Cheryl Atkinson, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And late word tonight, the White House has declassified some intelligence about a newly revealed terror plot against the United States, allegedly ordered up by Osama bin Laden. According to the intelligence, bin Laden ordered a top lieutenant in 2005 to form a terror cell that would use Iraq as a staging ground to launch attacks around the world, with the United States the top target. Meanwhile, a new poll released today shows most American Muslims are critical of al-Qaeda and other Islamic extremists, but there are some disturbing findings as well. 1 in 4 American Muslims under the age of 30 believe suicide bombings are acceptable in at least some cases if they're defending their religion. And only 40% of all American Muslims said they believe Arab men carried out the September 11th attacks. According to the FBI, all of the hijackers were Arab, most from Saudi Arabia. Now to a story that has federal prosecutors very angry tonight and some government witnesses worried about their safety. It's all because of a website with a provocative name that exposes informants. Here's our justice correspondent, Bob Orr.
The website exudes attitude. Who'sarat.com. That's a rat, as in a confidential informant. Who's a Rat is an online collection of sensitive information where for the low price of $7.99 a week, one can find the names and mugshots of nearly 4,300 government informants, plus personal profiles of 426 undercover agents. Who'sarat.com is run by Chris Brown, who doesn't want his face shown.
The site's geared towards defendants and defense attorneys into building cases regarding the credibility of the agents that are testifying, the informants that they're using to gain the information that they get.
But prosecutors warn the website featuring Rats of the Week could cripple cases and threaten witnesses. Informants are often key to criminal cases. The recent homegrown terror plot against Fort Dix was stopped with the help of 2 informants posing as conspirators.
Drug dealers work with other drug dealers. Violent criminals work with other violent criminals. And so we need those individuals to come forward and be part of our cases.
Brown claims his website, which compiles information from lawyers and case files, is not aimed at intimidating witnesses.
We don't condone or encourage any violence or retribution against individuals. We're simply providing a forum for people to post public information.
Brown argues the First Amendment protects his right to publish, but the courts also have a stake in protecting witnesses.
We're very concerned about misuse, but at the same time, we're also concerned about making sure that the public has access to our case files.
Who'sarat.com was launched in 2004 by a man fingered by an informant as a major marijuana dealer. Now the founder is in jail, but his website flourishes, and there's not much anybody can do about it. Bob Orr, CBS News, Washington.
Turning now to hurricane season, which is just 10 days away. Today, the National Weather Service reported it expects as many as 17 named storms. As many as 10 may become hurricanes. There were 5 last year. Half of them could become at least Category 3s with winds of 111 miles an hour. Meanwhile, the Army Corps of Engineers has spent a year and a half fixing those levees that failed during Hurricane Katrina. But are they ready for the next big one? Hari Srinivasan went to New Orleans to find out.
Like a scar on an old wound, water lines still mark homes across New Orleans and serve as a reminder of what happens when levees fail. Hurricane-driven walls of water breached the city's protection system and devastated nearly 80% of New Orleans. Now, 10 days away from another hurricane season, Colonel Richard Wagoner doesn't mince words when he says the job patching the problem is still not complete.
If Katrina came today, there would be significant risk to this metropolitan area.
Still, there has been progress. Since Katrina, the Army Corps of Engineers has worked around the clock to repair and restore 220 miles of levees at a price tag of approximately $2 billion. But the Corps admits that it may be 2011 before completion.
It's a Herculean construction effort that's going to take years to get done.
One of the most visible areas of improvement is here along the lakefront canals where water stood in some neighborhoods for 53 days. Now these pumps behind me are expected to empty out the equivalent of an Olympic-sized swimming pool in just 12 seconds.
But other questions remain, like gaps in levee walls and concrete barriers that are higher in some spots than others.
The system is only as good as its weakest point, and we've got many weak points left in the system today.
Former engineer Carlton Dufresneau runs a nonprofit that promotes wetland restoration, which he says is just as important as man-made protections.
In Katrina, the one day of Katrina, we lost 80 square miles of our coast. That coast is the first line of defense against hurricanes.
New Orleans resident turned activist Sandy Rosenthal started levees.org and wants Congress to investigate why flaws weren't fixed before Katrina.
Because if we don't know what happened here, how can we make sure something like this doesn't happen again someplace else?
With hurricane season on the horizon, many can only hope there isn't another someplace else. Hari Srinivasan, CBS News, New Orleans.
Meanwhile, in Atlanta, lots of people woke up today wondering what was on fire. The city was wrapped in a smoky haze, obscuring the skyline and making eyes watery. People who have trouble breathing were told to stay inside. This satellite photo shows the smoke came from the wildfires burning near the Georgia-Florida line. Those fires have blackened 473,000 acres in the two states. There is much more CBS News ahead. Coming up next, from the city where America was born, just try to find a hospital for a new baby to be born. Why maternity wards here are closing their doors. Back now from Philadelphia, and we have an update on the new birth control pill we told you about last night. It's called Librel, and it allows women to stop their periods indefinitely. The FDA approved Librel today. It will be in pharmacies come July. Philadelphia has long been a pioneer in health care. Back in 1751, Benjamin Franklin founded the country's first hospital here. So it's ironic that in Philadelphia today, mothers are having a hard time finding a hospital to give birth, and it all comes down to money. Melissa Suzinski had the perfect pregnancy.
I thank God. I love him.
But 2 weeks before her due date, she woke up covered in blood.
I said, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm bleeding all over the place.
Her placenta had ruptured. Melissa was rushed to the nearest hospital, Jean's Medical Center, just 7 miles away. 12 minutes after she was admitted, she gave birth.
They said if it was 5 minutes longer, I wouldn't have made it. My baby or I wouldn't have made it.
Living close to Jean's saved their lives. But next week, going there won't be an option for new mothers. The hospital is closing its maternity ward. A decade ago, there were 42 working maternity wards in the Philadelphia area. Jean's will be the 14th to close. That's 1/3 of them shutting down. The reason? Money. Obstetricians here pay among the steepest rates in the country for malpractice insurance, about $160,000 every year. And if a patient's on Medicaid, the hospital pays half the bill. So every time a doctor delivers a baby, the hospital loses money.
That truly is the problem. If you are losing on every birth, there are no economies of scale. There's no way to, through volume, be able to make the service more financially viable.
The result? What amounts to a medical crisis, leaving the ones that are still open busting at the seams. This is Abington Hospital. 10 years ago, doctors there delivered about 3,000 babies. This year, they expect that number to pass 5,000.
When you wake up at 4 in the morning with, blood.
It's scary.
They can stay in business because most of their patients don't need Medicaid and can afford better insurance.
She said she's trying not to complain, but...
Dr. Amy Mackey worries about the other hospitals and the new moms that may not be getting the care they deserve.
I think that the service that they would want is going to be jeopardized as a result of the lack of facilities and the lack of resources.
Resources that many hospitals can no longer afford and others can't live without.
We need to have it there. If it wasn't there, it could have ended up horribly.
Philadelphia hospitals are calling for changes in the law to protect doctors from the high cost of malpractice insurance and to revamp Medicaid funding. Others say the government should force hospitals to provide justification anytime they close a maternity ward. In other news tonight, the Reverend Jerry Falwell was laid to rest today in Virginia on the grounds of the school he founded. Overflow crowds filled the church and athletic arenas at Liberty University to mourn the televangelist who died last week at the age of 73. Falwell and his moral majority were a major force in the election of Republican presidents, but no Republican presidential candidate attended today's funeral. Coming up next, a big story we've been following about a mother and child who have lost their way. Are they safe yet? We'll take you to the West Coast to find out next. Those two wayward whales we've been following, Delta and Dawn, are still stranded tonight about 70 miles from the open Pacific. To get there, they'd have to negotiate a series of obstacles in the Sacramento River, including the pylons of 4 bridges and a delta of mudflats, then turn south through San Francisco Bay and navigate treacherous currents below the Golden Gate. Time is not on their side, but plenty of people are. Here's Sandra Hughes.
An armada of rescuers is trying to herd the whales. An effort to scare them south, banging on pipes to send the sound underwater. But the whales remain stalled 25 miles downriver from Sacramento, along with their fan club.
I'm not really sure where they're at, but I figured might as well bring a little man to come check it out.
It might be hard to imagine, but the reason so many people come to see the whales is that they're stuck in the middle of farmland. Getting back to sea is a long route, almost 70 miles to the San Francisco Bay and under the Golden Gate Bridge.
We believe that they don't have any clue as to where the Golden Gate is.
And now marine biologists say hundreds of years ago, before whale hunting, exploring uprivers was normal behavior for whales. So what if the whales dubbed Delta and Dawn are just sightseeing and none of these efforts work?
We're dealing with wild animals and we don't know what they're thinking.
Last time a whale was stuck in this river, it took almost a month for him to find his way home. Sandra Hughes, CBS News, Los Angeles.
From whales now to sharks, and possibly good news for the female sharks. A new scientific study shows those females can fertilize their eggs and give birth without any help from a male. Shark experts say a baby hammerhead born in a Nebraska zoo with no male DNA is the first confirmed case. That leaves mammals the only vertebrates that can reproduce only the old-fashioned way. Coming up next, the flavor of Philly, cheesesteak, and so much more. Philadelphia is a city of firsts. It was the first planned city in North America. William Penn laid out the grid. It had the nation's first public library, the first volunteer fire department, the first Girl Scout cookies, and of course, it was here that in 1776, freedom first rang.
The city's name means brotherly love in Greek. The Liberty Bell chimes in E-flat. Just some fun facts about Philadelphia, a city with character and characters. The Italian stallions scaling the famous steps we're broadcasting from tonight might have given the city a renaissance in the 70s, but for centuries, Philadelphia has been as American as one of its most famous natives, Betsy Ross.
It is a city very vibrant and rich in all of American cultural celebration.
The Geeter with the heater. For decades on Philly radio, it's been Geeter with the heater. And down on South 9th Street, a 60-year-old battle rages on.
Geno's.
Bragging rights for Philly's best cheesesteak.
Pats! Ask the 3,000 customers that come here, and ask the 2 that go there.
Philadelphia's downtown is called Center City. The nation's oldest farmers market, Reading Terminal, resides below an old train station. Since 1892, it's been home to more than 70 fresh food shops and eclectic restaurants.
Our cannolis are so good that the White House bought them from us for the first President Bush.
But Reading's longest resident is Oak's Butcher Shop. 3 generations of Oaks were tenderizing slabs of beef way before Sylvester Stallone. Harry III cut his first loin when he was 17. Today, he's 77.
I had just graduated high school, and my father said, take 2 weeks off and then come back and put an apron on and go to work.
Unlike Harry, by the 1950s, most teens were going hoppin' and boppin' to all the music Dick Clark played on American Bandstand, live from Philadelphia weekday afternoons from 52 to 64. And long before Dancing with the Stars, America voted Bob and Justine its favorite couple.
They said we were the Fred and Ginger of the era.
Of the bandstand. We just looked good together. You got 2
me?
blondes, and we were just in sync.
The birthplace of American Bandstand has been preserved, and you can almost still see all those teenagers doing the jitterbug here. The studio at the corner of 46 and Market is now listed on the National Register of Historic Places. But the greatest source of Philadelphia pride comes from being the birthplace of something else, our democracy. It was within these walls that the Founding Fathers adopted the Declaration of Independence in 1776.
That all men are created equal.
And now, every July, the Declaration of Independence is read aloud here at Independence Hall.
America was created in Philadelphia. You say the word Philadelphia anywhere in the world, and it conjures up this notion of independence, freedom, democracy. Very few cities carry with it that kind of legacy.
And that's the CBS Evening News from Philadelphia, with thanks to the Fairmont Park Commission, the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and CBS 3. I'm Katie Couric. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow from New York. Good night.